My name is Russell Shoemaker. I sold technology to the world, back when there was technology, and people to sell it to. Knowledge is a powerful drug. All it takes is a little to get you high. Before you know it, you're addicted, especially when you think you're on the verge of uncovering some great truth. The speaker lived outside Philly. After Eli's taffy expedition, I had to backtrack to Route 80 anyway. So Bucks County was on the way. At least, that's how I justified the couple extra days. Couldn't help thinking how all the money and effort spent trying to keep nature at bay, it all seemed so futile now. And so did doors and windows, screens and locks. The old laws were becoming only a hazy memory. Someone, or something, had already been here. I worried I was too late. Not sure what I was expecting to find, but normalcy wasn't it.
Sorry I had to duck out in the middle of the night, but duty calls. Make it up to you this weekend. Reserve the Roseville cabin on the lake. No blackberry. Promise. Till then, Jack.
All I could think was, if you knew the world was gonna end, why lie to your wife about a weekend getaway? Even if I'd had Delandre's gun, the thought of shooting a starving dog, I was actually grateful not to have to make that choice. Walking around, I started to wonder, if you have everything, what do you gain that's better than this? What was so important in Salina, Oklahoma, at 3 a.m.? Didn't appear to be government business. And what did PG stand for? I knew I was missing something. I soaked up every detail, desperately trying to piece together the puzzle. Fetal reports dating back 10 years. The most recent one was the key. Was this the speaker's baby? Or why was the mother listed as Jane Doe? What the hell did a test tube baby have to do with the fall? I remember losing it, thinking I'd led myself on some wild goose chase. But I was much closer to the truth than I ever could have imagined. Getting your priorities straight is a constant challenge. Leaving the speaker's house, I had that morning after feeling, that sickening mix of shame and regret, like I'd been on a bender. Told myself I wasn't going to waste any more time chasing clues, looking for answers I may never find. I just wanted to get home, back to my family, to what was important. I was going to make up for lost time. Route 80 was due north, so I decided to take Eli's advice and stay off the expressway and make a new road. It occurred to me most of the planet hadn't changed that much after the fall. Nature just went on as if nothing had happened. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Mankind had tried to tame the planet, to take control, impose our will, but all we really accomplished was to wipe ourselves out, along with technology, the very thing we were counting on to master the universe. I'd always been intimidated by nature. You fear what you don't understand. I remember Kizzy wanting me to camp out with her in the backyard.
Come on, Dad, it'll be fun.
I told her my back was acting up. There were always excuses. I could only hope I'd get the chance to do it all over again. Make the right choices this time. By that point on my journey, I still wasn't exactly one with nature. But for a city boy, I did surprise myself how well I was adapting. It started to become obvious that the scariest thing out in the wild was still mankind. My first instinct was keep walking, but I could see it was human tracks, and curiosity took hold. The blood was still wet, and there was a lot of it. Closer I got, the more worried I got. I had a first aid kit, but I didn't even know CPR. How could I possibly help this person?
You're not one of them.
Edward Hanley said he was a fugitive from some kind of religious cult that tried to purify him. He spoke a mile a minute, but from what I could gather, he was as good as dead if he got caught. I asked him all sorts of questions, trying to get a handle on the situation, but the guy came unglued.
Keep it safe. It's my only evidence.
I was torn. Part of me said, don't get involved. Just get home. That was my priority.
It's too late. They're coming.
Looking back, I don't regret stopping to help Edward. But one thing is clear. My path home is forever altered. Myths arise from events that challenge our perceptions of reality. This was never more true than in the early years after the fall. The world had become fractured into isolated communities, many of them built around a belief system, a myth to help them understand our new reality. I'd seen it before, in New York with The Pack, where people's fears inflated the truth into something larger than life. That day in Pennsylvania, I saw it again.
It's the Four Horsemen. Run! I said run!
Delandre wasn't the only one who believed that the events of the fall were foretold in the Bible. The prevailing wisdom back then was the end times were unfolding. Still, I clung to my belief in a rational world, even when there was overwhelming evidence to the contrary. It had been years since I read the Bible, but the image of the four horsemen of the apocalypse was ingrained in my mind. At Sunday school in Colorado Springs, they embraced the book of Revelations, always saw it as a tale of moral redemption, meant to inspire good behavior through hope and fear.
For if you fail him, you will burn in the fires of hell forever.
As I got older, I stopped taking those words literally. But as I stood in that cornfield, my rational mind was tested. And in that moment, I had my own revelations.
Run.
A new myth was being written in Pennsylvania, and I was about to be cast as the villain. It was in Pennsylvania I learned firsthand the power of faith. History's shown it can be an incredible unifying force or the justification for unspeakable atrocities. How you see faith as a tool for great evil or great good depends entirely on your point of view. After my experience in the cornfield, hunted by four horsemen, this was not what I was expecting to see. This couldn't be the place Edward was running from, could it? People were so calm and content, working together, playing together. For a moment, I actually thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Kizzy? Abby wasn't more than 14. Could tell by her earrings. My daughter had the same pair. But Abby had a confidence, a certainty you rarely see in teenagers.
This is New Eden. You've been saved.
She said I was lucky. Not everybody was asked to stay. She wondered what made me so special, and frankly, so did I. Abby wanted to see a picture of my family, but I couldn't find my pack. Got pretty worked up. The thought of losing all my stuff, my journal. Some people you meet, they have an aura about them, a charisma. You just feel at ease. That was J.D. His name was John Daggart, founder of New Eden. When he spoke, it was like nothing else mattered but you.
Thank the Lord you're all right.
He apologized for his horsemen, said they're very protective of New Eden, an understatement to be sure. As you can imagine, I had a million questions, but more than anything, I wanted my backpack. According to J.D., Edward Hanley took it. I was fortunate, he said. Edward didn't take my life, too. J.D. said Edward had a good heart, but a bad mind, a weak mind.
Still, it was my fault he ran away. I came down too hard on him for his sins. But how do you forgive a man who tries to destroy paradise?
If I hadn't helped Edward, J.D. believed he would have been brought back into the fold, given another chance. As it turned out, Edward got away. JD didn't blame me. He said my compassion wasn't a crime. It was a virtue. That's why I'd been saved, brought to New Eden. He wanted to introduce me to the flock, throw a feast in my honor. Sounded inviting, but perfect as this place seemed to be, I couldn't shake that image of Edward.
Keep it safe. It's my only evidence.
What did he mean? Was he just crazy? Or was there something I wasn't seeing beneath the beauty of New Eden? The people most prepared for the fall would have been the Amish, with their avoidance of electricity and all the temptations of a modern world. The New Eden community wasn't Amish, but they adopted the simple way of life, the isolation and self-sufficiency. And like the Amish, New Eden was built around a strong religious faith, part Old Testament, part New Testament, and part Luddite.
God looked down on mankind, and he was angry. We took our faith from him and put it in technology, a false idol. So he raised up his mighty hand, and he smote it all.
Amen.
JD believed the fall was Judgment Day, end times. He said God took the good and the bad souls, but left the rest of us behind for a second chance.
Here in New Eden, God's given us all we need to start over again, the right way. He provides us with a bounty from his soil. His horsemen protect us from the savages who cling to the old ways. And all he asks for in return is our faith in his plan. Yet that price is too steep for some.
JD took pity on Edward Hanley, predicting he wouldn't last a day on the outside.
But don't take my word for it. Let our new friend here tell us what lies beyond.
Many in New Eden had been there since the place was formed. Some were growing restless and curious about what JD called the wasteland. JD told me not to pull punches, said his flock deserved the truth, so I gave it to them, gory details and all. That's where he cut me off.
You heard the man. Stealing and murder are a way of life out there.
I tried to explain that there were still good people out there, people trying to restore order, learn from our mistakes. But hearing my own words that night, I realized JD was right. The world outside was a dangerous place. It made me wonder what the hell I was doing trying to cross the country alone. Still, when the service ended, I told JD I had to pass on the feast. I just wanted to get home to my family.
Wow, I always wanted to see the West Coast.
JD said he understood my wanting to leave, that New Eden would pray for me. But he had a question for me about the fall.
What do you believe, Russ?
I told him what I knew about the EMP and the Speaker of the House, but without my backpack, I had no proof. JD didn't mince words. He said I was wrong. What happened was not the man-made disaster I'd come to believe. It was divine intervention.
And I have proof.
Should have left, like I said. But I wasn't so different from those in New Eden. Part of me wanted to believe a simpler truth like they did. Believe I had been saved by God himself.